And what I love about the UN is they say, well, we're not going to focus on the classical financial management thing. They came up with their own model. I think it's from the UN, right? The SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. You're familiar with them. I've only printed them out so that we can show you. These are them. We'll kind of put them on the screenshot. The UN, and I think this is brilliant. I think it's brilliant from a humanistic, but also from an economic perspective, because what the UN said, listen, not just the UNIDO, if you look at the UN as a whole, okay, with humanistic missions all over in many different facets, spends hundreds of millions, if not trillions of dollars every year in projects. And one of the thing that all these organizations did is ask themselves, what value do we create? Even if we're not interested, we're not talking about return of investment or net present value or that kind of stuff. But what are we trying to generate? What are these benefits and impacts? And what they did is they came up with 17 points, just to mention a few of them. Anything that lowers poverty, anything that reduces hunger in the world, that's number 2.
Improves health.
Yeah, and 3, anything that creates a better health and well-being. Quality education, accessibility of education for a broader spectrum of the population. Gender equality, very mainstream nowadays, but not just in developed countries, but also in non-developed countries. Clean water and sanitation in the sense of sustainability. That's why it's called Sustainability Development Goals. Affordable clean energy, decent work and economic growth, and so forth and so forth. We'll throw it on the screen. Now, I love these. Now, anybody who's an executive or senior management with a for-profit company could look at this and say, that's cute. What does it have to do with us? And that was kind of my jaded perspective of how I thought some executives would act. And I'm actually surprised because there's a number of large global organizations that bought into this hook, line, and sinker. Okay? I think Coca-Cola is one of them. I don't want to make advertisement for them, but I think off the top of my head. And there's a number of other different organizations that, in cooperation with their corporate social responsibility division or staff position, have said, you know what, we have a social responsibility as well. And if we're going to measure what social value do we provide besides making money and making our shareholders happy, a lot of these organizations use this in their CSR program to evaluate additionally the value of their projects. So they evaluate their projects. What's the immediate return of investment? What financial benefit? They say, what strategic benefit? Do we create efficiency, effectivity, economies of scale, or some of the classic things? And this is kind of a third facet, which I think is beautiful. I think it's great that the UN developed this for their project, but I also think it's interesting in the for-profit. I don't think a lot of for-profit companies fully understand how to apply it, but they're at least open to it. What was your experience with the SDGs? Is this something that you saw and felt was very actively used in measuring impact, or was that before your time?
Before I get to that, let me comment on something you said before about private companies using this. It doesn't actually come from the companies. It's very important it's the consumers of that company's products or services. It's pressure from the consumers. There's more and more we're seeing, consumers of a product saying, hey, if you're using child labor to produce that sneaker, we're not going to buy it.
Although sometimes it's a little delayed until that response comes.
It might be delayed, yeah. but it has a big impact.
Yes.
On corporate action.
People care. If they're aware, they care.
Yeah. And once the corporates are aware that their consumers watch these things and act upon them, that's what changes their activity. It's not that they're saying, these are cute, I think we'll do something about it. So this is
the tail that's wagging the dog.
Absolutely.
Good. More power to the consumer. Now
in the UN, we were just talking about what's the process of project approval. One of the questions that is, which of these SDGs does this project contribute to, and how does it contribute to that SDG?
Which makes it a great selection process.
Yeah.
Because the more, some people say, you know what, valuable things shouldn't be quantified, but why not quantify, even if it's nominal, even if it's an approximation of a number? So would you say that this was a huge value add to your selection process?
What it does is it brings together the approach. So it allows everybody to be able to say, okay, I'm doing this, and this is my map, and here's where I have to be effective.